Thank you for staying with us. It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on the front page of Nigeria newspapers. And I begin with this Nigeria newspaper. And the major story here says Obasanjo tackles appeal court over sack of Kanu, Zamfara, Plateau governors. And the writer here says powers vested in the few judges totally unacceptable. Anxiety as Plateau Assembly Speaker Deputy resign. And then another story there, the downstrip IPOP faction leader Ekpa sabotaging peace in the southeast. Chief of Defense Staff is saying this. Now, elevator accident, doctor's death probe ongoing. The Nigeria Medical Association is reacting to the death of a doctor that fell in the elevators in Lagos sometime early this year, right? And then to this other story, Senator Stakula Akpabio over choice of Senate minority leaders. Federal government revokes 1,633 mining licenses over unpaid fees. And at the top corner, Wike submits 61 billion naira FCTA 2023 supplementary budget. You find all the details of these stories on the pages of this Nigeria newspaper. To the Daily Trust now. The major story here says confusion over contradictions in CTC of appeal court. Confusion over contradictions in CTC of appeal court judgment sacking Kano governor. And the writers there says it's typographical error, Governors Council APC chieftain. Only Supreme Court will interpret it, says Governor Yusuf's lawyer. Right, you'll find the details of the stories. And then another story there says uproar in Senate over minority leadership seat. All right, if you want more details, you can just pick up the Daily Trust newspaper for more details. To the Voice of Liberty now, the major story here says Nigeria-Germany partnership. Tinubu witnesses signing of $500 million renewable energy pact gas export agreement. Nigeria-Germany partnership. Tinubu witnesses signing of $500 million renewable energy pact gas export agreement. That happened in Germany at the G20 summit attended by President Bola Tinubu. Now, we'll move on to the next newspaper, or quickly before we move on to the next newspaper, the downstrip will make electronic transmission of results mandatory. That's what the Senate is saying. Ex-Minister Abba Moro emerges Senate minority leader, and that caused an uproar. How we lost election for not bribing INEC police. Obasanjo, former president, is speaking. You find all the details of these stories on the front page of the Voice of Liberty newspaper. To the Leadership newspaper now. Now, the major story here says service chiefs passing the buck over rising insecurity. Service chiefs passing the buck over rising insecurity. And the writers here say accuse political class, the judiciary, of not doing enough. Say they just set suspects free, and we are ready to join military in fighting terrorists, the police is saying. Another story here says appeal court affirms Venturi as Adamawa governor. Musawa unveils creative economy plans, assures 10% GDP contribution. Now, non-payment of service fees, federal government revokes 1,633 mining licenses. Wike others review of land swap policy. That story is in the papers. We are open for alliance with PDP, Labour Party, APC. NMPP is saying this. That's an interesting development. Now, federal government targets $10 billion local ship charter market. Another story here is e-payment platform collapse hampers filing of cases in Lagos ports. Those are some of the stories you find on the front page of the Leadership newspaper. We move quickly now to the Vanguard newspaper, and the major story here says why insecurity is not going away yet. Service chiefs are saying this. Now, some of the writers you find under that story says warders assisting imprisoned Boko Haram insurgents to operate. The Chief of Defense Staff is saying that. Says armed forces underfunded. Adds that Finnish government is protecting Simon Ekpa. We recall Simon Ekpa is the man who always makes the statement from Finland with regards to the cessationists in IPOP in the southeast. Now, alleges Ekpa sabotaging security agencies' efforts in the southeast. Cost of aviation fuel, introduction of surcharges also affecting NAF operations. The air chief said this. I met battered police force. The Inspector General of Police is saying, laments police personnel grossly inadequate. And this is a matter that a lot of Nigerians have been speaking about. Insecurity will soon be over, Defense Minister says. And security welfare of people and primary purpose of government, Speaker Abbas says. Declared national emergency of kidnapping. Huriwa, as Human Rights Watch, is urging the president to declare a state of emergency on kidnapping and others. And then we see another story here. Rivers crisis, 2 factional assembly lawmakers hold separate seatings. And then as governor, FCTA officials gave me fake C of O. Wike is saying. Senate in rowdy session over leadership positions. Federal government revokes 1,633 solid mineral titles. And at the top corner, brutally frank, Nigeria doomed without restructuring federalism. Elder statesman Clark, Adebanjo, Asiodu, Anya, Akinyemi, Utomi, others speaking. Overturning Kanu's and Zamfara Plateau voters' decision in court, unacceptable. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo is speaking. Nigeria, Germany signed $500 million renewable energy gas deal. That story is featuring prominently on the papers this morning. These are some of the stories you find on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. We'll move now to the Daily Independent. And the major story here says military asks federal government to tackle Finland over southeast insecurity. Military asks federal government to tackle Finland over southeast insecurity. I beg your pardon, that's the major story there. And the writers here says the country encouraging separatist leader Simon Ekpa, judiciary partly contributing to insecurity across the country. Inspector General of Police says he inherited abandoned, ill-motivated police force. And at the downstrip, we have upload of results by INEC will be made compulsory. The Senate is speaking. This has been a controversial issue to ensure election petitions are concluded before swearing in. And then another story at the top corner, Rivers lawmakers loyal to Fubara Wike hold separate plenaries. Court orders assembly factions to suspend further seatings. And another story here, Plateau Assembly gets new speaker, Deputy Asile Form resigns. Uproar in Senate as Akpabio washes hands of choice of minority leaders. Lagos keeps an open book. Procurement controversy misrepresents truth. Governor Sanwo-Olu is speaking. We didn't spend 927 million naira in 3 months feeding OT family. Abia government is reacting. Now, Tinubu will bring boom to creative industry, Shetima assures. Kemi.
All right. Next is First News. On First News, the biggest story there is on some controversies rocking the Nigeria police force. Among the thorny issues are age, service year, falsification scandal, as cheating officers cut age, length of service to stay beyond statutory retirement period. And there is said to be tension, according to First News, in the force as retired colleagues of erring officers petition the IGP as well as the Police Service Commission to demand justice, I should say, so many issues there regarding this latest scandal rocking the Nigeria police. At the same time, IGP Egbetokun is quoted as saying, "I met a battered police force." Other stories on the front page there. Court sentences man to death for killing 7 DSS officers in 2015. Senators tackle Senate President Akpabio over choice of minority leaders. Plot to remove me targeted at Kwakwanso, that's according to Kano Governor. Police take over Rivers Assembly as lawmakers hold separate sessions. And still on the late Mohbad, his mother is saying, police released my son's body to his father, but he's refusing to bury him. Next is Nature News. On Nature News, Akwa Ibom ex-governor backs Wike on Abuja master plan reclamation, commends the FCT minister for greening project, recommends Dr. Modibo's city center plan. And Nigeria urges global action to safeguard marine biodiversity. Fuel prices may fall as more fuel tankers come to port. Nigeria urges ambitious global plan to safeguard marine diversity. And finally, on Nature News is this report from UNICEF saying more than 110 million Nigerian children at risk from climate change. Okay, that story, we touched on that worrisome story briefly on the show yesterday. Next paper before us now is Nigerian News Direct. National shipping line to curb $10 billion annual loss to ship charter. Federal government is quoted there. And service chiefs lament poor welfare, seek legislative support to tackle insecurity. Let's check out more stories on Nigerian News Direct. Opposition senators protest appointment of new Senate minority leaders. Next is Blueprint. Blueprint is saying, well, the biggest story that is federal government will boost blue economy with $10 billion from shipping. Minister Boyega Oyetola is saying, adding that project will be driven by strategic PPP initiative. In the meantime, Culture Ministry is eyeing $100 billion by 2030, as well as a 10% contribution to the GDP. This from the creative industry, that is. The Senate is quoted now, law compelling INEC to upload results underway, plans revision of laws of Federation of Nigeria to help returners to our land. Displaced Bassa people of Toto beg President Tinubu, displaced Bassa people of Toto in Nasarawa State in an urgent save our soul message to the president. On the issue of vandalization, NNPCL is saying over 5,000-kilometer pipelines no longer working. Next is The Punch. States spend 1.7 trillion naira on trips as well as meals, and others borrow 988 billion naira. States borrow this said amount from banks and others in 9 months. And in the meantime, governors are set to get more than 87 billion naira for security votes. In the meantime, Ondo state government denies 7.3 diversion, 7.3 billion naira diversion. Okay, there's another worrisome development, and that's we can see from the picture stories depicted on the front page of The Punch. It's captioned, "Ghetto in Paradise. Abuja pupils learn in sheds, endure dumps odor." And the pictures there speak for themselves. Nigeria, Germany sign $500 million renewable energy and gas deals. On the issue of insecurity, military blames Forex, demands special court for terrorists. Next before us is The Nation. Government asks Supreme Court to extend old Naira notes lifeline or lifespan. Government asks Supreme Court to extend old Naira notes lifespan. The nation's risk, or the nation risk return to currency squeeze crisis. And regarding this application by the federal government seeking extension of the old Naira notes, a date has been fixed by the Court of Appeal, November the 30th, that is to hear. the application. We'll see how that pans out when the court sits next week. Federal government needs 35 billion naira for 30-kilometer concrete road. And according to the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, I have saved 110 billion naira for the FCT. Finally, before us is Business Day. Business Day is saying, will investment return on federal government's olive branch to oil majors? That's the big question before us. And Business Day is proffering some answers as to the question of investment returning on federal government's olive branch to oil majors. In the meantime, delayed bill deprives insurers of risk-based capital. Nigeria wants to borrow less, but ignores easy revenue sources. Veronica.
Right. Easy. Okay. So a lot of stories making the headlines this morning, but one that seemingly dominates is the security chiefs that came before members of the House of Representatives committee. And they were talking about the challenges they have been facing so far after resuming office. And all of them had varying issues to put forward. Now, the Chief of Defense Staff was talking about the matter of Simon Ekpa and the fact that it's seeming like the Finland authorities, the Finnish government is protecting him, so to speak. We all remember Simon Ekpa, how he often makes statements, posts videos, inciting people, especially in the southeast, to go out to foment trouble one way or the other. And Nigerians have been talking about how it's important, to rein in and get him to answer questions with regards to how he has been speaking. In fact, IPOB actually denied him at some point that he's not part of them. But he is insisting he's fighting their cause, so to speak, with the kind of statement he's making. And they're saying this is hampering their activities and the progress they are trying to make. And the Inspector General of Police also mentioned the fact that he inherited, everybody is speaking about what he inherited as it is right now, that he inherited a police that is seemingly not, perhaps, what's the word?
Battered.
They were battered, right.
Battered force.
I didn't want to use that word. He said he's a battered force. He just mentioned so many things that they were not motivated, so to speak, and how it is that there is the need for them to improve on their welfare as it is.
So, well, so many issues as revealed by the service chiefs in Abuja when, they attended a crucial session at the House of Representatives on Tuesday. You've said some of them. Some other issues are the creation of a special court. This is a long-standing problem. This is a long-standing request, and no one knows the reason. Apparently, there may be some considerations, but it's possible. A special court has been created, not nationally though, but at least in Lagos State, for example, there is the creation of a special court for sexual offenses, and seeing as the issue of terrorism, security issues, also having a fair share of cases in courts, this appears to be perhaps a valid request and is something worth considering. But also worrisome is a revelation made by one of the service chiefs who said something about Boko Haram terrorists, so suspects that is in prison, who have been arrested for, all kinds of terrorism-related offenses.
Working hand in glove with the warders.
Collecting their phones from them, and even from detention, they get to place calls, they get to plan more attacks. And all of those things, wasn't it yesterday we were speaking about saboteurs, how we can
address them.
Fifth
columnist.
And the guest was saying, even in the perfect setting, we would always have that. But when one looks at the series of jailbreaks that have occurred in recent times, that issue had also cropped up, whether they are saboteurs within the ranks of, the correctional facilities. And, having this from a high-ranking officer as a service chief is something very damning.
Another issue they mentioned is they accuse the political class and the judiciary of not doing enough with addressing these issues. So many things. So many things. That is why one of the papers said that they are passing the buck. But then everyone has to get involved. They can't do it alone. They need all of these persons on board to really address these matters of insecurity. We have to leave this conversation here.